Hi everyone. So basically today I'm gonna explain to you guys how to do your own marketing study with Microsoft Self-Service Analytics. And what I mean by self-service is means you can do it by your own without having to pass by the IT department. So basically the tools I'm gonna show for mainly the sales people, the marketing people, the people that have a lot of things to do other than that learning IT stuff. Basically the ones that they always ask for reports and stuff from the IT departments, and each time they have to wait for a week or two, and once they get the reports back, well, they don't agree much about the format and so on. So basically the following tools, the Microsoft BI tools, the self-service ones, are made for those kind of people whom they want to do their own reports. So for the sake of this, we have chosen a very friendly demo. So it's basically the demo is about a football player who wants to change his team. So basically, as you guys know, every player, I would say, it depends on the reasons. So that's why we got some criteria for this player. But they will change the team sooner or later. They will change the team. They can play 4 or 5 years in the same team, but for one reason or the other, they're gonna have to switch the teams. So basically, this guy, the nationality is Portuguese. Position he plays forward attacker, and the current team is Benfica. So basically, he has some criteria. Since we say he's a forward, he cares only about offensive teams. So he doesn't want to change his team with another team that doesn't attack much. So basically, he wants to avoid, for example, Italian teams because they are very famous for playing defense. So basically, offensive teams only. He cares about the number of goals. He wants to win the Champions League. Champions League is basically the European league that the best teams play in only. So basically, the first two teams from each country are the ones that they can play Champions League and compete for it, and it's the most famous league for any soccer player. So basically, he cares about team ranking because, as we said, if you are ranked sixth in your country, for example, let's say Real Madrid is sixth in Spain, then they cannot play Champions League for the coming year. Team popularity in Portugal, since the guy is Portuguese, he absolutely cares about the team he's choosing, that it must be famous in Portugal. So basically for that, we will analyze social media post location and player's nationality. So let me recapitulate. So basically we care about number of goals that we need. That means we need data that has teams and the number of goals scored, team ranking, and social media, because each social media post is coming from a specific location. So we want to know if Portuguese people are tweeting about this or that. So basically the phases of this is, as I said in the beginning, the self-service BI tools is not only to analyze, it's basically to collect data, that is to search and get data, data that you have, data that you don't know you have, and so on. And from a wide variety of sources. That means we can cross data from different sources. Analyze and visualize, that you would make your own graphs and videos and stuff, and make decisions, because that's the most important thing, and that's why we have BIs, basically to take information out of data. We're gonna keep this slide open, and we will go ahead and look for our folder. So the first step, we're gonna create a blank Excel file. We will call it soccer transfer, while in Europe we call it football. Doesn't matter. So let's look at the tools we have. So those are basically add-ons on Excel, and they are called the Power BI tools, and they are made of Power Query, Power Pivot, and so on and so forth. Let's look at Power Query. As the name suggests, query is basically for sending queries. So you get a lot of sources from file, a lot of sources from databases, and from other sources, and from web also, and from online search. We will look at those in a minute. So the first data we have that we downloaded from FIFA.com, it's public data, is about the goals scored, and we have put it in an Access database to show that actually we can use a variety of sources. So it's called seasonal data. It basically has a list of teams and the number of goals they scored in each year. So here, that's the first advantage of Power Query compared to the previous data warehousing solutions, is that you have a preview. In other words, before importing data to your Excel, you got a preview right in front of you, and you can make changes. For example, in here, this is the ranking, those are the points. GF means goals for, and goals against. So for season, we want to change type to text because we don't want to do aggregate. So in case we do graph, they want to be adding those as numbers. So here it has the teams and stuff. We can, for example, remove the ID, and as you notice on the right hand side, you have the steps that you apply. So next time anyone click in refresh, that means you can share the query with your colleagues, click refresh, and all the steps will be repeated again. That means the Access database will be queried again, and all those steps, changing type, removing columns, and so on, will be applied again. This is the name of the table. We can keep it seasonal data, and here we will load it. So yeah, we load it to a new sheet. So actually we can come back to the other sheet and we can use Power Query again. But now we need to analyze data about Champions League because we said that the guy cares about the goals scored and he cares about Champions League. Well, we don't have data for Champions League, but we know that it's public data. So you can either go to your search engine and look for it and download it as an Excel file or anything. As you guys saw before, you have a Power Query that can enable you to get data from basically everywhere. But now let's use an online search. I mean, we can do it directly from Excel, in other words. That's what I'm trying to say. So instead of going to your browser and using your search engine, you can now just use an online search and say, I want Champions League finals list, and hit enter. Basically, you will go and look and get some results back, and you mostly are from Wikipedia because Wikipedia is famous for formatting tables in the right way. So the first one looks okay, but we can always edit to have our preview that I showed you guys before, and it's actually downloaded from the net, so it's not something on my laptop or anything or some internal network. So let's look at this. We have the seasons, we have the nationality, the nation, we have the winners, and that's what we care about. The score, not much. We have the key. For example, the key is something we don't need. We can do a lot of things. We can like split this column by a comma, by a delimiter or something, in case we need to split the name of the stadium with the city, and a lot of other steps that we'll get over here. But now let's use something else. We'll close and load to. So I'm not choosing a new worksheet because I have already one open, and to a table. We can also create a lot of stuff. We can add it to a data model to do some relationships, but we don't need to. And we forgot to change the name of the table, but we can keep it list of European Cup. It doesn't matter. So that looks okay for now. So we have looked at Power Query now and how to get data. Now we will insert a Power View. And as the name suggests also, it's basically to visualize. So now, as you guys see, we're having tables in front of you. You can't really analyze tables because they don't show you patterns. So, I mean, you can have a lot of data in a table, but it won't attract you. I mean, it won't trigger you to know if a team is better than the other. You have to do a lot of calculations by your hand, and it still won't be okay. Graphs are famous for showing patterns. So let's delete this table that was automatically created. We look at goals for. We want to analyze the number of goals. We want to analyze it by team. And let's do it as a bar chart. So in a matter of seconds, we already have our bar chart, and we can put it in descending order. So now we know that Madrid has the highest number of goals scored, and here you have a lot of filters. So you can filter by the number of goals with a slider, which is totally amazing. So we only care about the best teams, for example. And you can also select the teams you want. So we know that Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester United are the three first ones. Now we can look at Champions League to confirm if those are really three best ones. That means we have to see if they are really active in Champions League. So for that, we will do a count of season. So basically we are counting the season, and we are doing that for the winners. And we can do that now with a stacked column. And again, let's put it in descending order. So yes. And I will filter out a little bit. Count of season. Or I will just to check for the ones I've selected before. So basically Bayern Munich, Manchester United, and Real Madrid. Well, yeah, we forgot to clean actually the data, but that is a good time we can show how we can collect data. See, sometimes in the data we have it's Real Madrid and Real Madrid NC. So this is coming from the Wikipedia. So as you know, if you get data online, you have to always do some cleaning. So let's go back. Actually, this was done on purpose to show you guys that we can clean data. So if we look at this, we will find some things where they have NC as a suffix over here. So we can always do remove, change type, replace values, and we replace NC with nothing, and this step gets added, and we load. So here it will refresh again. As you see, it will resend the query. And now the question is, what happens when we come back to our Power View? Well, we can always go to Power View and go to data and go to refresh, and here it is. It actually did remove Real Madrid NC automatically. So it's counted Real Madrid as 9 now. It's merged basically Real Madrid and Real Madrid NC, and that's what we wanted. So basically 3 of them have already won Champions League. Manchester 3 times, Bayern Munich 5 times. Madrid actually it's 10 times because they won in last year also. But the data table from Wikipedia was last refreshed on 30 May of 2014, so it didn't include the last one. So this is totally fine. We can add some other information. For example, let's say we care about Madrid a lot because it ranks first. We want to see the attendance. We want to see basically the attendance for each season. So when we click on Madrid, it will show you the seasons of Madrid. So it filters automatically, as you guys see. And you can even see the sum, but you can also remove it if you don't want it. You can here add titles and a lot of graphics. You can insert a lot of pictures and other graphs and so on. So it's totally fine for the sake of now. So for this first step, we have found out that Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and Manchester United, they have scored the most number of goals, and they are very active in Champions League in this following order. So let's see how we can visualize all those graphs in one single graph. So let's go ahead and insert another Power View sheet, and I will show you guys a very nice graph out of seasonal data, and it's called the scatter, and I'll be building it live so you see it guys in front of you. So the goals for, we'll put it in the y-axis. I'm gonna put the points in the size, team, and details, and the most amazing thing is basically to add season as a play axis. So what's happening now? So this is the goals for, this is the place. So the best teams should be here. Basically they will have ranked 1 or 2, for example, so that they can play Champions League, and they will have the highest number of points. The size of the bubble is basically controlled by the points they got accumulated during the year. So in football, if you guys are not familiar much with it, if you win a game you have 3 points, if you have a draw game you have 1 point, and if you lose you have 0 points. So even if they play in different leagues, that's still the same concept in Europe. So once we hit play, it's basically you will see the season changing over here. I'll do it again. See? And as you guys notice, in 2007, what is happening? Juventus is going to the right low corner. It's because actually Juventus in 2007, they have gone to the second level in the Italian league, basically because they had some corruption and stuff. So this can serve as a trigger. So basically, well, we were concentrating on this part, and then we were shocked to see Juventus going to this side. So that can serve as a trigger. So as you guys see, the scattered charts can have a lot of information in one graph, and it can be very interactive and nice to work with. Okay, so we can save this file for later use in case we want to. Now we have looked at Power Query, Power View, and we have analyzed, let's go back to the slide where it says the criteria, number of goals, and team ranking. So we said we will also analyze the social media. So let's go ahead and look at that. So for social media, I have a Power Map and a Power View. So I'll go to the Power View. We'll look at Power Map later. And since I've already showed you how Power Query works, I have done it beforehand for you guys. So basically the index is the number of the conversation. It's a unique number. I didn't want to put the whole conversation because it takes a lot of space and it makes X a little bit slow. You know, each conversation or post is totally huge, so I put only the unique number of it. Category is social, the type of it, and the language, and the domain, and so on. A lot of information about the post and the country and so on. And here I have made already a Power View. So we have started in the beginning with a lot of teams, and we have kept 3 from the first step. We can say that we have kept Madrid, Bayern München, and Manchester United. So here what we have done, we have analyzed all the posts for 1 week. So basically we have checked the last week of September, and we have seen how many conversations. So let me explain to you guys the graphs. So the first graph is Real Madrid, Bayern München, Manchester United is the number of conversations. So for 1 week we got 73,000, 60,000 for Bayern and 56,000 for Manchester United. And we will see right now that those graphs are basically interconnected. But let me explain to you guys. The second graph is about sentiment analysis. Each post has a sentiment detected automatically by the tool that I will show you later. So it's called Microsoft Social Listening. Those are the domains. Is the conversation or the post coming from YouTube, from any other website, and so on. And this is a little map. So let's click on Real Madrid. We notice that it has more positive, so basically more positive than it has negatives over here. That is good enough. The domains, they got filtered automatically. Let me do it again so that you guys look at the domains, please. When I click on Madrid, everything gets sorted according to Madrid, and here where the conversations are coming from. So it's also connected. You can also zoom and stuff. We care about Portugal, so we can zoom, and we can see how much. 88, actually 88 conversations from Madrid from Portugal. So for the sake of this, according to the number of conversations, if we look at the sentiments for Portugal, it has much more. For Manchester United, much more negative than positive. Actually, that might be due to the fact that they were not doing that good and stuff, because the coach has left. The coach who has spent basically more than 20 years has left. We look at Bayern München, and we have that it has a lot more positive than negative. So for the sake of this step, we'll see that we leave Manchester United and we keep only Real Madrid and Bayern München. So here, basically the point of this Power View, that you can actually have a lot of graphs and a lot of graphics interconnected with each other. Basically that make it very interactive and very useful for filtering data. So let's go ahead and save this file. So now we are left with 2 teams. Let's go ahead and look at what we can do with the power map. Again, I have already done the Power Query part, and this is the same file I just showed you, the conversation. We have added another information that is also available in any football website like marca.com. So basically it gives you the nationalities and the name of the players and the teams they are playing in. So what we notice here is that we have locations for the posts like city, country, region, and stuff. And here we have nationalities that also contain a name of a country. What we can do now that we showed Power Query and Power View, now we have something called Power Map. That means whenever you have geographical locations, you can actually use a Power Map. It's much better than Power View, even though I have shown that you can have little map in Power View too. Takes a little bit to start for the first time, because actually it go and connect itself online to have access to the map, and that's what we have. So let's go ahead and I will show you guys that we can map data, and at the same time we can be creating a video at the same time without any much more effort. So basically I'll be creating scenes from time to time. So we call the first layer, we will call it depends what we want to map first. Let's go ahead and map social media, so I'll call it social media, and we see that we can have a lot of layers. We can put map labels, and we can zoom a little bit. Let's go ahead and insert a new scene. So we said we will be dealing with the table called social media. So now it's asking us always the first question about geography. We only care about country. We can also map city and region, but we only care about country for now. And here are the countries already mapped. If you guys see, let's zoom. So the countries were already detected. Once we click next, we can select that as a bubble. We can increase the size. So now we can have information for the size in the category. So basically what we want to do is we want to count the number of conversations as we did before, and we want to do that by team. And again, let's increase a little bit the size so it can be easily done. Portugal, Lisbon. So let's go ahead and see what we have over here. We said we care to know the number of conversations per country, so we can always zoom on Portugal, and so that we see the basically I have put the sum of index, which is not correct. We just want to count the index because those are the conversation. Okay, this seems more logical. So again, that's what we saw before. We have 88 conversation for Real Madrid and Portugal. So we can tell from here that Real Madrid is winning, but let's insert a legend in case we are making actually a video and sending it to people. It has to be self-explanatory, so you can insert a lot of things that you guys can discover by yourself. You can insert chart, text boxes and stuff, but here you can insert an annotation basically saying the name of the country and the field and the team. So an annotation will get inserted basically that shows that the team winning over here is Real Madrid. You can always add a text box and say the winner is Real Madrid. And we can insert a new scene. And now this basically this step has helped us in Power Map to visualize the data on a geographical map, basically showing us that you can actually visualize the results in a map automatically. So this layer we have basically saw that the social media coming out of Portugal for 1 week, that most of them were actually for Real Madrid. So let's go ahead and insert another layer. And of course the second one is called nationalities because it's about player nationalities. And let's go ahead and hide social media for now. Player nationalities, and we have the nationality. It's detected as being a country again. So we click next. And we want to count the number of players basically because the guy cares about team popularity in Portugal, so we have analyzed social media, but he also wants to play with more Portuguese players so that they play with the same style. Portuguese and Brazilians, they play a lot of times together and they play the same style that is more attacking and so on. So we will check how many players are from Portugal and Bayern München and how many are from Portugal and Real Madrid. So I put the value as the name and as the account. Well, actually, I apologize. We are still in geography. I haven't clicked next. So the geography was mapped automatically. And we select it as a bubble. So this is a count of players from Portugal. So 3 players, of course, from Portugal, Spain, and so on. But we want to see that by team. And that's the result we were looking for. So amazing results actually for Real Madrid, because as we see, we have 3 players from that are from Portugal and that play for Madrid, and no player from Bayern München. So let's remove this for now. We can add a new scene again, and we can add an annotation over here saying the nationality, the fields, name and team. So basically we have seen that we have 3 players that are Portuguese and that they play for Real Madrid, and no player from Portugal actually plays for Bayern München. So we can insert a legend, and of course it absolutely looks like Madrid is winning because there is no purple at all. So we can see where the video that we have made in the last 3 minutes, actually, as we were inserting scenes. You can always export this video, of course, in any kind of quality you want, and it doesn't take much time to do that. So as you guys see, Power Map is basically doing all this for us. It's basically doing this kind of slow movement from one slide to the other. We didn't have to do any extra work for this. And of course, as I said, it's just a matter of time. You can insert a lot of graphics, a lot of explanatory texts, but I don't want to waste a lot of time on that. I'm just basically showing you guys kind of introduction to those tools. Exactly. And here is the place where you can actually create the video, and you can get a lot of choices in there about which kind of quality. Here you can change the themes and stuff. Here you can refresh the data in case, as it happened to us before, and we had to modify the data. You can just refresh it, and it will automatically requery the social media and stuff. So now, after those applying those 3 steps, let's look back at our criteria: social media post, player nationality. We have done all this. We have basically found out that Real Madrid was the best, and basically the team player has done all this by himself, and this is the point of this scenario, to show that anyone actually can do it without having to have an IT background. So let's go ahead and look at the tool called Microsoft Social Listening, the tool that can help you query data from the social media. Well, the way it works is that it gives you some graphs already about the buzz history, about the number of posts and so on. This query, we have actually done it just for a day or two, because there is a quota that you shouldn't exceed, and that you basically, it's amazing because you get to pay for the quota you have only. So let's go ahead and show you guys some conversations in detail, because I didn't do that before. I only showed you the index, the unique number of the conversation. It's been open for a while, so I'm probably gonna have to refresh to get the data. I'm gonna click for the query called Real Madrid. It's the only query I kept, because basically how it works, if I kept the other queries too, it will basically resend the query every day, and that will consume my quota. So here it tells you the languages, so it already gives you some reports beforehand. This is the sentiment analysis. I have 1100 posts for that single day, and here as you guys see, you can look at the post. Real Madrid are set to make a bid for Chelsea Brazilian player and so on. So you can analyze the post, and you can easily say select all and export to an Excel or to an XML. So this is called Microsoft Social Listening, and it's the one that can help you to do the analytics on social media. But me, I have done it through the Power BI. So basically I have exported the data and works with Power BI to make very nice graphs. But if you don't need it, then you can only work with social listening directly and have your own little graph showing you the results, if you don't want to do any extra stuff. So I left the most amazing part to, sorry, I left the question already open, but that's no problem. Now I'm gonna show you guys Power Q&A. So Power Q&A is basically an amazing tool that allows you to ask questions in natural language and get the results instantaneously in an instant, basically. So I have been showing you guys how to make graphs, but actually you don't even have to make graphs now. You can actually put the same Excel file I've showed you before and ask the questions and send it to your colleague to ask their own questions. So let's go ahead and make a graph. So I'm gonna say show scored goals by team, as it showed it as a bar chart, so I'm gonna put as column chart. So this is really amazing. How does it work? The way it works is that Power Q&A is able to understand and interpret some reserved words like team, like show, like column chart, and also the columns names. So GF, we have said that GF is actually means scored goals. So in Power BI, and exactly in Power Pivot, there is a place where you can put the synonyms. So basically you can say that GF means code goals. It's basically goals for. You can add a lot of synonyms, different languages. This way you can ask the question in any kind of language you want. So let's go ahead and see how does it understand any other questions. So we'll put show points. Okay, that's good already for teams in Spain. And that is amazing because we only have 2 teams in Spain that we had in our data. Let's say we don't want to visualize it in this way. We want to try Power Q&A is able to understand the pie chart. And yes, it does. And as you guys see on the right hand side, even if you don't like the answer of the question, you can always filter by yourself like you do in Excel. You see, this is kind of a power view in here, and actually detects this kind of word. And now I'm gonna do an amazing, well, what I call the amazing graph before the scatter chart, also just by typing the question. So I'm gonna show place, points, scored, goals. You guys can see on the right hand side that it has already detected is a scatter chart and season. And that is exactly what we want. Let's look at the fields it's picked. That's exactly the same fields I have picked before, so it's interpreted correctly, all of them. And we can hit apply, and it's the same thing happening. So it's exactly what we have made in Excel, but this was made just by typing the question. Basically, as soon as it detects that I have a lot of fields to show, it's basically say this guy doesn't want a pie chart, doesn't want a column chart. It's basically a scattered chart. So I would like to thank you guys for listening to this demo. I hope it has helped you to have kind of an introduction to the Power BI. To the Power BI tool. So basically, if I want to recapitulate, I have showed you Power Query to look for and collect data. I have showed you Power View to visualize data. I've showed you Power Map to also visualize data, but on a graphical map. And I didn't really show Power Pivot, but Power Pivot is useful for putting relationships between tables and stuff, and also for putting synonyms if you want to use it with Power Q&A that I have just showed you guys now. And I have showed you also Microsoft Social Listening. So basically, the whole point of today was to show you guys that you don't have to pass by the IT department. You can basically just get little training on this and basically get absolutely independent, and you can do a lot of stuff as we have seen today, and you can of course do a lot of extra stuff. It's just a matter of time. Thanks a lot again for listening to me for this demo, and hope you guys enjoyed it.